this is Dr.Emme and welcome to session 2 of Mindset for IELTS 1. In this session, you will learn 7 strategies for IELTS, and to access my PDF of the book, leave your email in the comments section. Mindset for IELTS 1, page 12. Page 12 is about the writing skill. Let's look at part 1, lead in. There are some questions here. Take a look at the questions and try to relate it to the pictures that I put here for you. I have listed some Iranian festivals and celebrations for you. Something like Nowruz, سیزده بدر, یلدا, چهارشنبه سوری, Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr, and سپهردار مسکان. These are some special traditions in our country, and of course you know that there are some special foods served on these celebrations, on these events, or even the night before them. Okay, for example, I know that you have a special dish on the first day of the year that is so special to you, and your parents really prefer to eat that so that you begin to like it, or you would also carry on that tradition, and you try to pass it to your children too. Okay, so it is a custom in Iran to have sabzi polo and fish on the first day of the year, but in some families it is not that. No, for example, our family members do not like fish that much, so we usually have stuffed chicken on the first day of the year, and it has become a tradition. Now I want you to think of that special tradition that is, so special to your family, okay? And try to think of the food and how, the food is prepared, if there are some special equipments needed to make that, and try to talk about that, okay? If you do not know the equipment, so maybe you should look at the next slide. Now to study the new words that we have encountered in part 2, we can actually match the new words, or not only the new words, but maybe they are known to you, but I want you to categorize them, okay, as materials, as parts, and as shapes here in this chart. Okay, so take your time and try to answer this part. Okay, let's get to the grammar. There are some steps in order to make pasta here, and we want to see how we can actually express that. Okay, so how to make pasta. First of all, water is added to the pot. Next, water is boiled. Then, pasta and salt are added to the water. Afterwards, the pasta is cooked. Next, the pasta is drained. And finally, it is served. So, what are the verbs in these sentences? Let's look at them. The verbs are highlighted as yellow here. And you can see the verbs here, okay? Let's look and see what is common in all the verbs. How are they, similar? Is added, is boiled, are added, is cooked, is drained, is served. So you see how they are similar? They have two parts. What is the first part? What is the next part? Take a look. Yeah, you're right. So these are the verbs and they are similar in the sense that they have two parts. The first part is a to be verb. That is am, is, are. Here we have only is and are. The second part, as you see, is a verb plus ed here in these examples, or we can call it the PP of the regular verbs. Okay, but wait, look, take a look again. There are two parts for these verbs. The first part is am, is, are. The next one is the PP. Okay, now look. When we have such verb as having two parts, the first part, am, is, are, the second one, the PP of the verb, we have passive present simple, okay, or فعل مجهول. So, when do we use passive present simple? We normally use it when we want to talk about the action done on something where the doer is not that important. So the result of that action or what is done here is of significance, okay? So it is important to see the result. It is important to express and to talk about the process and the result of each step of that process. So whenever you want to talk about the process in IELTS exam or in any topic, do not forget to use passive present simple. In order to say that you can wash the apples, then you can peel the apples, and then you can chop the apples. You can say it a lot more beautifully using the passive present simple. Whenever we want to talk about the process of making something, installing something, doing something step by step, do not forget to use the passive present simple, that is am, is, are plus PP. Okay, Take a look at this picture. You can see the 5 steps of making a homemade bread. Okay. In each step, okay, when you want to make the sentences, you can use the new grammar using am, is, are plus the PP of the verbs. I have written down the verbs under the pictures. The verbs are add, mix, knead, that is used for a dough, knead a dough, and number 4 to cover the bowl, and number 5 to bake the bread. Okay, and what are the PP forms? They are added, mixed, kneaded, covered, baked. Okay, now what is PP? Okay, to answer that, first you should see there are 2 types of English verbs. The first is regular verbs, and the second one is irregular verbs. As most of you know, the regular verbs are those verbs that take ed for past tense. The PP of such verbs is also ed form. So, for example, clean is a regular verb. The past tense or the past simple tense is cleaned. The PP or past participle is also cleaned. This is the same for finish, use, paint, stop, carry. Okay? And the second type of English verbs is called irregular verbs. The irregular verbs are irregular in the sense that they do not take ed for the past tense. Okay, the whole form changes and it becomes another word for the past simple. So there is no rule for that, and you cannot actually memorize one rule for all the forms. You should memorize all the forms. Okay. Also, the PP of these words should be memorized too. What you can see here are 2 tables, and you can see the more complete form of the table in grammar in use. And so the verb is, for example, look at this list. When the verb begin is used, the past simple is began. We cannot add ed to it. We should say began. And the PP is begun. Okay, so the third form or the third part of this verb is begun. So, in order to know the PP of the verbs, of the irregular verbs, you should know the form. Okay, so the PP of a regular verb is that verb plus ed. The PP of irregular verbs should be memorized according to the list. This is the summary of to practice the new grammar, do not forget to do the exercises on. Okay, to practice the grammar, we have a grammar focus, the present simple passive, part 5 in the mindset book. Okay, we should use the passive form of the verbs in the parentheses or in the brackets. And what we should know here is what kind of to be verb we need and what the PP of the verb is. Okay, so look at number 1. Tea leaves. What kind of to be? Because it is simple present passive, we use am, is, and are. So the present to be verbs are am, is, are. For tea leaves, we use, yeah, correct, we use are. And the PP for pick is picked. Very good. So we should know what kind of to be, that is am, is, are, is appropriate according to the subject of the sentence, and also what the PP of the verb is. Okay? Look at number 3. A lot of water. Do we use am, is, are? Sometimes it can be confusing, okay, because you don't know the rule. Everybody, look, water is uncountable. You cannot count it, so you should treat it as one. Okay, you should treat it as singular and use singular verbs. For example, a lot of water is, not are. Although we have a lot of before it, okay, we use is. Because water is uncountable. Look at this point here, point of uncountable nouns. I eat rice every day. I like rice. Rice is an uncountable noun. An uncountable noun has only one form, like rice, and there is no plural form for that. We cannot use numbers with uncountable nouns, and we cannot say one rice or two rice. We cannot say numbers with them. And the verbs for am, is, are, we use, the to be verbs. The singular to be verbs, something like is, or for example, was, are used. And for the main verbs, we can say that water remains. We should use S for the singular S with a verb. Okay, let's look at the examples of the uncountable nouns. Kate was listening to music. There is sound in my shoes. We use is with sound. Sand. Do you have any money? It wasn't your fault. It was bad luck. There is no electricity in this house and we don't have enough water. So, with the uncountable, to summarize, okay, with uncountable nouns, we don't use a or an, we do not use s, the plural s, and the verbs that are used with them are singular. So that is singular to be, and also singular main verb that has s at the end. Okay, now take your time, do part 5, and wait for the answers. So, there is an extra grammar point in Unit 69 about countable and uncountable nouns in English grammar and use. Do not forget to study it later. Okay, now take a look at part 4. When you look at the picture, you can see how there are 6 steps of making something, okay? Now, before doing anything, always look at the instruction of the question. Okay, the question itself, gives you information about the pictures. Okay, sometimes pictures say a lot. Okay, but sometimes you don't have a clue, any idea what the pictures are about. Okay, so always take a look at the question and get the information from that. So the question says the picture show the process of making string hoppers. Uh, uh, I hope that I'm not mistaken in pronouncing the string hopper. And then you should match the short instructions to the pictures. Okay, so you can see 6 pictures. There are 6 instructions of how to use string hoppers or how to make string hoppers. That's a special Sri Lankan food. Okay, so A, B, C, D, E, F are the instructions. Okay, but how should we start? You know, when I'm explaining this point to you, that this may sound very straightforward and easy to you, but when facing an IELTS test, the pictures may not show exactly, what they are. They may not be that clear to you, or even the choices are not that easy for you to match them to the pictures. Okay, so how should we approach such questions? We should always look at the shown information, words, pictures to find the known items. So we should always move from the known items to the unknown language or items. Okay, so according to the pictures, you cannot guess what is going on. Maybe someone is making something, or some food is getting made. Huh? But the question says that it is the process of making string hoppers, and you should match it to the instructions. So we have the instructions too. When you take a look at the instructions, it is not that easy. So push through the string hopper, press onto the string hopper mat. Okay, or part B, add water to the flour. This is easy. This is something that, so part A is not that easy. It is not that clear. But part B is easy because you know water. In which picture water is added to the flour? So 1 question is answered. 2 is B. Part C, put the rice into the grind. I don't know grinder. I don't know to grind into flour. Which one is that? Is it number 2, the flour, or is it number 6? Is it number, which one is it? But you know rice. Yeah? Where can you see rice that is put into the grinder? Okay, and then the grinder grinds it into flour. So you should always look for something known before getting confused. Okay, so always look at the question, always look at the options. You can see some known pictures, some known words, and you should move from the known knowledge, the known information, to the unknown information. Okay? Take your time and match the instructions to the pictures. You have 30 seconds. So the steps of the process of making string hoppers are as follow. Okay. Number one, the rice is put into the grinder and it is grinded into flour. Number two, water is added to the flour and both are added to the bowl. Number three, water and the flour are mixed well to form a nice dough. And the dough is pushed through the string hopper press into the string hopper mats. It is cooked in a steamer and it is served with spicy curries. Okay? But I have a strategy for making your speaking or your writing even more beautiful using sequence markers. Sequence markers or sequence adverbs are those adverbs or words that are common for including in a process, in talking about steps of doing something, in counting the reasons for doing something, in counting the the items, your favorite items, or anything, okay? When you want to show a sequence and how they are related to each other, you use first, and then for the next ideas, you say next, then, afterwards, okay? When you want to sequence the time, you can say after that, next, afterwards, and the last item is also finally, okay? So these sequence markers can make our speaking more beautiful. So let's revisit the process of making string hoppers. This time I want to use the sequence adverbs. Okay, so the string hopper is a very special food that is prepared in Sri Lankan families. Okay, first the rice is put into the grinder and it is grinded into flour. Next, water is added to the flour, and the flour and water are mixed so well to form a nice dough. Then the dough is pushed through the string hopper press into the string hopper mats. And then it is cooked in a steamer. Finally, it is served with spicy curries. We really make our speaking more smooth and more beautiful using sequence markers. And let's revisit the speaking again. We can use the sequence adverbs to make it more smooth. We can also use some description of the new equipment. So for the audience, the string hopper press or the string hopper mats are not that familiar. Okay, so we can use some, or we can add some description of it. Remember, we had the description of these 3 pieces of equipment that are special in this country. Okay, so we can add that description here to make it even a better and more fluent talk. You can also practice the grammar focus, that is sequencing words or sequencing adverbs, to match them to the sentences here. Okay, so take your time. You have about 45 seconds to do that. Okay, here's a punctuation tip related to the use of sequencing markers. Okay, so whenever we use first, next, then, and finally, we should use a comma, okay, after them. But if the marker or the adverb comes at them in the middle of the sentence or at the end of the sentence, we do not need a comma. The next thing or strategy covered in this unit is the introduction paragraph or the introduction and overview in writing an essay. Okay, but before anything, I want to talk about the writing in the IELTS exam. As you know, there are 2 tasks in IELTS writing. Okay, task 1 and task 2. Task 1 is different for academic IELTS and general IELTS. So if you want to take the academic test, the first task of the writing is to write an essay to describe a graph, a chart, a map, or a process. Okay, but this is different in general IELTS. In general IELTS, the first task of writing is to write a formal or informal letter to someone. Okay? And the second task is the same for both kind of test. Okay? It is an essay responding to a question or statement. Okay? So, don't forget that we have task 1 and task 2 in IELTS, and task 1 is different for academic IELTS and general IELTS. Okay? But you should know that in both task 1 and 2, you are asked to write one essay, not one paragraph. Okay, an essay is a short piece of writing that explains your ideas about a topic. It is normally a group of paragraphs that are related. Okay, but how are they related? The first one is the introduction paragraph, which tells the reader what the essay is about. The second paragraph, or let's say the second part, the body paragraphs, okay, give main ideas with reasons and examples about the topic. Finally, the last paragraph is the conclusion that summarizes your points. Okay? So, but before anything, before I show you an essay is very much like making a sandwich. The introduction paragraph is like the piece of bread that you put on the plate to make the sandwich. Okay? Then we have the filling, the burger, the lettuce, the tomatoes, the veggies, okay, as the body of the sandwich, okay, as the filling of the sandwich. And then finally, we have another piece of bread on top of that, okay? Now, look, if we don't have the first piece of bread, we cannot carry and eat the sandwich easily. If we do not have the last piece of bread, it is not finished and it is not that yummy and it is not that easy to handle. And also, if the filling is not good, okay, the sandwich is not satisfactory. Yeah? So, the introduction paragraph and the conclusion paragraph are like the two pieces of bread in a sandwich, and the filling is like the body paragraphs of an essay. Take this essay example. Here we have 4 paragraphs. The first one is the introduction paragraph. The second and the third are the body paragraphs, and the last one is the conclusion paragraph. In writing an introduction paragraph, you should always cheat. You can rephrase the task itself to make the introduction sentence. Okay? So whenever you rephrase or paraphrase a sentence, there's nothing wrong with it. You can cheat. Okay? So think that this is the writing task 2. I should write an essay about how online education has changed the lives of students. Okay? The introduction paragraph, yes, should have a topic sentence and an overview sentence. The topic sentence is where you can cheat. You can rephrase the task itself and write the topic sentence. So many people believe that online learning has changed education around the world. This is the same as what task 2 actually asked me to write about. Okay, I just rephrased it. Okay, and then I continue saying what I will cover throughout my essay to get the grade of this part. Okay, so I'm gonna first brainstorm what I'm gonna write about. Okay, so first I'm gonna write about one paragraph about advantages of online education, and in the next paragraph I'm thinking, okay, in the next paragraph I'm gonna talk about the challenges that it posed to students. So yeah, that's good. I can summarize the 2 main ideas that I just thought of including in my essay in one sentence, and that's my overview sentence. Okay? It is like a summary of my main points. So I'm gonna talk about advantages and challenges that it posed. Okay? So my overview sentence is: this essay will discuss the advantages of online learning and the challenges students may face. So let's take a look at what an introduction or a topic sentence can be and what an overview can be. The introduction sentence is where the student tells the reader what the essay is about. This is where you can cheat from the task, okay? The task explanation. And it should be one clear sentence. There should be no details, and you should just introduce the topic. For example, many people believe that online learning has changed education around the world. The second sentence of the introduction paragraph is the overview. That is what the essay will cover or what the reader should expect to read in the essay. It should be brief. It is like a map or a summary of main points, and there are no arguments and no examples. No details are added here. And we can say this essay will discuss the advantages of online learning and the challenges students may face. Now you can practice what I just said. Which of these is an introduction and which is an overview sentence to an essay? Take your time, 10 seconds. It's easy, isn't it? Part B can be an introduction sentence or a topic sentence because it tells you what the essay is gonna be about. And part A is the overview statement. We are going to read about the 6 stages in the process of making string upper, beginning with grinding the rice and making a dough and ending with using a steamer to cook the string hoppers. And part 8 is to practice the type of overview sentences, We want to see if these are overviews or not, if these are overview sentences or not. Look at number 1. The process of making blue cheese can be seen in the series of pictures. This is a topic sentence, because it is simple. It has no details and it is only the topic. The topic is the process of making blue cheese. Part B. To make a perfect omelette, you need fresh ingredients, the right equipment, the correct technique. You must also cook it for the correct amount of time and pay attention to the temperature. Is it only the topic or more than that? These are the things that we are going to cover in the next paragraphs. These are the main ideas. We're going to talk about ingredients. We're talking about equipment. So it is what we expect to read in the essay. And part C. The production of tea involves a range of stages from picking the leaves from the plant to drying and distributing it. Again, we are giving the steps. So it is not only the topic, but some main ideas. And part D, the diagram shows the various stages in the process of making strawberry jam. The first stage is to pick the strawberries when they are ripe. Do you think it's an overview? Actually, the first sentence can be a topic sentence, but I don't like the second one as the overview. You know why? Because it is too detailed. We're talking about strawberries, we're talking about the first stage, we're talking about if they are ripe or not. So there are too much details, okay? So, let's not take it as the overview because we should not go into details in overviews. So, to wrap up, the overview gives the main ideas, short and simple, and it does not go into details. But it is not as simple as the topic sentence, which only introduces the topic. Here we have a sample answer for part 9. You should study the essay and find the introduction. You should underline it. You should underline the overview too. And you should circle some sequencing expressions or adverbs. And please underline the verbs in the present simple passive and the description of the equipment. And number 6, vocabulary from the short instructions in exercise 4. So it is both a practice of eyes, okay, to find some keywords, find some verbs, find some details, and it is a practice of the type of sentences to expect or to locate in an article. Where should we find the introduction? In the first paragraph. Where should we find the overview? Again, in the first paragraph. Where should we find the description of the equipment? Wherever in the body paragraphs. Yeah. Where should we find verbs in the present simple passive? You can find it everywhere. And the vocabulary, yeah, you should look at exercise 4 and find the new vocabulary introduced in exercise 4 used in this model or sample answer. Now take a look at the pictures in this part. The pictures here give you a process or some steps, 9 steps in making something. Can you guess what that thing is? You may not be able to guess it right away, but you should get a cheat, from the question. So, the question here says, look at the pictures which show the process of making cherry jam. So, this is the input that we get, or this is the information that we get from the question. Okay? But all the IELTS, picture descriptions or process descriptions or even listening, okay, give you more than just the instruction of the question. They give you some words, they give you some keywords, they give you some words in the box like this, okay, like add, shake, check, spread, collect, stick. These are the words that we can use to talk about this cherry jam process, okay? A technique that I want to talk about here is that you should use the question input, both the instruction of the question and the picture, and even more than that, the diagram, the chart, even some small description here under number 7, step 7, check for quality. So these can give you clues about where to find the information or where to start and end, or what words you should use. Okay, so always try to use the question input. So please take your time and do part 10 and get to this part, the exam skills, part 11. It tells you to use the pictures that we had in the last slide and also the question input, okay? Both the pictures, the descriptions, the keywords, and the information in the question, okay? To write an essay, or let's say a paragraph about the process of making cherry jams. Okay? Be sure to include an introduction and an overview here. Be sure to use the related grammar that we covered today and the sequencing expressions that we talked about, like first, next, afterwards, finally, and so on. And the last one says write 150 words. Okay, get to the next slide. I want to explain this. Now, should we count one by one how many words we have written? No. My students always ask this question. How should we count them? Or how could we block? But before going to the IELTS exam, we should always practice writing, okay? After some practice, try to count the number of words that you write in a line on average. Okay, for example, on average, I write 11 words on each line. Okay, so in order to write a 150 word essay or paragraph or composition, okay, I should write at least 13 sentences. Okay, I should write at least 13 lines. Okay, and so before you get started with the task, you know that you're going to write about 10 to 13 lines. Okay, and after you're done, okay, try to count them. Read the first line that you have written and count the numbers on the first line and multiply it by the number of lines that you have written and just estimate the number of words that you have written. Okay, you should not actually should not write a lot less and more than this. Okay, you should write almost or around 150 words here. Okay, we come to a learning strategy which I really like and which makes my course really special. You should use AI to get feedback. Okay, these days the AI can make language learning really easy and interesting. Whenever I ask my students to use AI to practice English, they find it hard, they find it funny. But when they start doing that, they see what I mean. It's really nice to test all the things that you have studied in a very much real like interaction, okay, with a person. This person is AI, and this person is not gonna judge you for your accent. This person is not gonna judge you for your mistakes. It even gives you feedback, it even gives you corrections, and it is I suggest ChatGPT, both a web and app, TalkPal and Practica. If you want free, flexible, general help with learning English, go to ChatGPT. If you want structured language practice plus instant correction, go to TalkPal. And if you feel anxious speaking to live people, to real people, do not forget to try Practica.ai. It's time to revisit this question. Remember part 1 in the unit? And do not forget to get feedback from AI, to practice it with AI that is in the window next to this video, okay? And use the sequence markers and use the passive present simple and use the new vocabulary that you have jotted down in your notepad, okay? So it's time to practice this question. Try to speak for 1 minute after you have practiced.